You ever feel like you're just running on fumes? Like you owe this massive debt, but it's not about money at all? Well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dive into this crazy universal struggle with sleep. We'll follow one journalist's wild quest to settle a debt he's been racking up his entire life. All right, let's get into it.
So get this quote: "I have nightmares about paying off a debt. It has nothing to do with money and everything to do with sleep." Wow. That's from a 66-year-old journalist named Howard Chua-Eoan, and that line just kicks off the whole story. It perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? That constant nagging sense that you are just fundamentally behind on rest and all the anxiety that comes with it.
So, you gotta wonder, how does someone even rack up a lifetime of sleep debt? Well, for the guy who wrote this, it wasn't really a choice. It was more like a professional necessity. His career basically forced him to engineer his own insomnia just to stay on top. And the environment that created this debt? It's pretty wild. I mean, he was working for huge outlets like Time and Bloomberg, so he was on call 24/7. Think about it, covering revolutions in Asia, the aftermath of 9/11. His job was managing this global web of reporters where the sun literally never set on his work. That meant being awake at all hours, worrying about deadlines, worrying about the safety of his team in actual war zones. No wonder he couldn't sleep. And just to put this all into perspective, check this out. The source we're looking at cites a hospital estimate that it can take 4 full days to recover from just 1 hour of lost sleep. Just one. Now imagine multiplying that by decades of not getting enough sleep every single night. The scale of this problem, it's just mind-boggling. And this quote, oh man, this quote just perfectly sums up the result. It's got this dark humor to it, but it gets right to the heart of what chronic, broken sleep feels like. It's not just about not getting enough hours, right? It's about the quality of those hours being totally shattered. You can just feel the frustration. Okay, so if we're going to figure out how to fix a problem this huge, we first have to understand the mechanics of it all. So let's dive into the science of what our brains are actually doing when we're supposed to be resting. You know, sleep isn't just one long blackout. It's actually a cycle, a journey through 4 very different stages. First, you kind of drift off. Then you get into a light sleep. And then you hit the really crucial one, stage 3, the deep clean. This is where your brain is literally thought to be clearing out all the junk, the metabolic waste that builds up during the day. After that, we get to the famous part, REM sleep, the dream state. So what's driving this whole process? Well, think of it like a chemical tag team in your brain. On one side, you've got melatonin. You probably heard of it. It's the hormone that kicks in when it gets dark, basically telling your body, hey, time to wind down. Then you've got its partner, adenosine. This is a chemical that builds up in your brain all day long, creating what scientists call sleep pressure. The more adenosine you have, the sleepier you feel. It's pretty cool. Okay, but here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. The author dug up this piece of history that completely flips our modern anxiety about getting a perfect, solid 8 hours on its head. I mean, what if waking up in the middle of the night is actually normal? Seriously, what if that frustrating 3 a.m. wide-awake moment isn't a sign of insomnia at all, but a faint echo of how humans are actually supposed to sleep? This idea just reframes the entire problem. Maybe it's not a disorder. Maybe it's an ancient, natural pattern. And this timeline really shows you how recently our sleep patterns got turned upside down. For centuries, right up until the Industrial Revolution, tons of people practiced what's called biphasic sleep. They'd have a first sleep for a few hours, then they'd wake up for an hour or two to hang out, work, even pray, and then go back for a second sleep. It was totally normal. It wasn't until the invention of gas and electric lights, plus those rigid factory schedules, that we all got pushed into believing that one single 8-hour block was the only right way to sleep. So, armed with this incredible knowledge that waking up isn't automatically a bad thing and that sleep is a physical process, our author developed his own practical, kind of DIY method to try and trick his anxious brain back into rest. And his technique is amazing. It's basically about method acting your way into falling asleep. So, step 1, he distracts his racing mind by tapping his fingers to his heartbeat. And then, he deliberately slows the tapping down, along with his breath. Step 2, he consciously relaxes every single muscle one by one until he's mimicking that state of paralysis. It's called atonia, that happens in deep sleep. And finally, step 3, if he's still awake, he just focuses on those faint light patterns behind his eyelids, letting his mind form images, which is exactly what the brain does when it starts to dream. And the result? Well, when this method works, it takes him about 15 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. And get this, that's right in the sweet spot for what sleep experts call sleep latency, which is just the fancy term for the ideal time it should take to drift off. For someone who's struggled for decades, that's a massive win.
But here's the thing. Paying off this sleep debt isn't just about feeling less tired the next day. Nailing that perfect 15 to 20-minute drift-off time, it unlocks something way more profound. It unlocks the mysterious and absolutely essential process of dreaming.
It's pretty amazing how our need for that dream state, or REM sleep, changes over our lifetime. I mean, look at this. Infants spend a whopping half their sleep time in REM, probably because their little brains are working overtime processing a brand new world. But as we get older, that percentage drops off quite a bit. So what are dreams even for? Are they just random, staticky noise from our brains? Well, according to the legendary sleep scientist Rosalind Cartwright, absolutely not. She had this brilliant theory that dreaming is basically the brain's nightly filing system. It's how we sort through everything that happened that day, decide what's important enough to store in long-term memory, and build the mental flexibility we need to handle whatever life's going to throw at us next. And that brings us to one final, really cool thought to leave you with. If dreams are how we process our past and prepare for the future, then they're not just some random byproduct of sleep, are they? They might just be the actual map that guides us through the rest of our waking lives. Something to think about tonight as you settle your own sleep debt.